being proposed that will allow athletes to profit from the name advances. So, what this means is I'm going to give you what it says in the article and then we'll talk about it a little bit. It's a California bill that will make it possible for a college athlete to profit from the use of his or her name, images, and likeness passed another subcommittee hurdle in the legislative process Tuesday. So, this article was from last Tuesday, and apparently this bill is progressing. It was voted 9-0 to move the bill forward. So there is some stake in this, and it's like it's called the Fair Play Act, introduced in February, and it would prohibit schools in California from taking away scholarships or eligibility from college athletes who use their notoriety to make money. The proposal allows for athletes to hire an agent or attorney to represent them in business deals without losing their eligibility. It would not require schools to pay its players, but instead guarantee players the same rights given to Olympic athletes. If it is passed, it would not go into effect until 2023.
Okay.
So, basically, what is being said is the simple fact that they're not going to say that they're going to flat out pay these kids. But what they're saying is they are progressively and aggressively looking into having these kids make some money on their self, invest in themselves, where they will allow them to hire an agent for that purpose or an attorney for that purpose.
Right.
Which I think is great.
How about I ask you
again, because like we just mentioned, the kids need something. We talk about them as athletes and prospects
but they ain't paying them.
This and that, but they're still kids. And like Ben Simmons said, and like I've been saying, it's a slap in the face for this young athlete to be touted as this young athlete. Walk around campus, my head held high, whatever, but then I see 100, 200 other people walking around with the basketball jersey. Let's just say their basketball jersey with my name on it and my number.
You ain't profiting.
And the school
is profiting.
Is profiting. NCAA is profiting.
You getting a goose egg.
And I'm getting nothing, but I'm the one that's going out there performing, putting my body on the line and taking these pictures and doing these posters and whatever and interviews with my likeness, and I'm not getting paid anything from that. Like I said, I think that's a disgrace, and I think something should be done about. So I applaud this bill proposal, and I hope that this bill goes through. And there's an NFL player who was involved in this as well. Los Angeles Chargers offensive lineman Russell Okung is among one of the advocates for the bill. And he told the committee that the NCAA's treatment of athletes was exploitive, oppressive, and analogous to how prisoners are treated. Kind of harsh, but he has a point. And he also said, why does a free marketing system work for everyone but the student athlete? It's about basic civil liberties and repressive measures that still exist today. I applaud Russell Okung for being involved and being an advocate for this bill, one that went through the process, that now has made it into the pros, but like I said, has been through the process and understands what goes on and what went on, and he can relate to these kids, and I'm happy to see that he is involved and on board. Hopefully he can pull some other professional athletes in or some Olympic athletes in, and they can do something to get this bill passed so these athletes can benefit from themselves, their own likeness, their images, and things of that nature. So I will keep you updated on this proposal.
Please.
And let you know how it plays out when I get the information, when things proceed. Now, lastly, before we get into our NBA talk, because the NBA talk is going to be pretty hefty. It's going to be pretty hefty, and it will probably take us a little bit to get through. So I want to just talk about another story that I saw over the weekend. And if you haven't heard, there were some former NBA players who were playing the Big Three, who have since been deactivated and released from the company. There was an announcement saying that the deactivation of several big name players. The former NBA players were Lamar Odom, Baron Davis, Bonzi Wells, and Jermaine O'Neal. Initially, the statements were out and the reports were out that by the Big Three that the changes are being implemented to maximize competition, protect the health of players, and to raise the level of professionalism of the Big Three. Later on, as we know, when you dig deep enough, you find stuff.
Right.
Because they only gonna tell you what they want to tell you when they want to tell you.
Old school rules.
So me as the media member doing my due diligence.
Do your homework, baby.
I always do my homework before I report anything to you.
Yep.
So it was also reported that Lamar Odom has apparently, or is being reported, like I said, these are none of my own words. It's been reported that he's had somewhat of a relapse. Apparently there was some drug paraphernalia and some marijuana left behind in his room after one of the appearances in a certain town of the Big Three. So, with all these other guys immediately being deactivated, it makes you wonder if those guys had anything to do with it. Any similarities across the board with them. I don't really read too much into that. What I meant was it all of them that were in that room?
Okay. Like a little party going on.
Yeah, whatever. But I'm pretty, I'm not gonna say pretty sure. I believe that it was mostly Lamar Odom. I would say with the weed thing, those other guys were probably in there. I mean, it's a known fact that
they're not NBA stars no more.
It's a bunch of NBA guys that play, but they're still representing the big league.
Yeah, true.
Ice Cube League is in his third year now,
right?
And he has blow up. It is like the premier 3-on-3 league right now in the world.
Right.
It is a great in between time for the NBA finals when the NBA finals ends, leading you into. Right. For basketball fans, leading you into football where you don't have that stagnant space where there's nothing. So they are representing a major business. And I can understand how the business, as far as Ice Cube and his other partners, would want to jump on this, get ahead on this, and get it done, get it over fast. And put it out there. But I also think that they were decent and respectful in the way that they put out their initial report, saying that they wanted to maximize the competition and whatever of the league, which basically also was saying to me that these guys were not in shape and well enough to perform.
That's true.
It's reported that Lamar Odom was not in shape to play, but now you start to hear more things and you start to read more into when you put issues with the names. And that was probably the case. These guys were probably not in shape. And as a former athlete myself, a coach, referee, these are the times when you get serious injuries.
Right.
And it's not really beneficial for these guys at this state in their careers to have or sustain any of these major injuries that we would see, ACL tears and things of that nature. So it's not really beneficial for them to do that. So it's also been reported that there's a possibility that they could come back, they could make a return to the league. Probably won't be this year, but I understand. I think Ice Cube is looking at both sides of the fence with this thing, where he's saying that these guys are not in shape, and it's not really going to be beneficial for the program or the product that we putting out. It's going to hurt the competitiveness of the league.
Right. So
we have to do something, and we just got to let him go. But I also respect the fact that he was businesslike, and he did not put out there that these guys were probably out of shape or whatever. He just said that they wanted to maximize the competition and the level of playing field of the actual league, which I think was a noble gesture on his part, in respect in regards to these guys and who they were at one point in their NBA careers.
Right.
Now, that being said, we got bigger NBA stuff to get to. And there's a chance that we might not get to our youth basketball issues. So if we do not get to the youth basketball issues, I will carry that over until next week and definitely do that. And a matter of fact, I think I'm definitely going to do that because I need more time to decipher it, to go through it. Not so much the homework, but the way though it's a 2-part series, and I gotta get back in there and break it down some more, because I feel like I need to give you the right information. Absolutely. I don't want to have to be second guessing myself or putting out information that is incorrect. So I'm going to take my time with that again the rest of the week, and I'll bring that back to for next week. You know, like we do, we keep it 100 here. I want to be as clear as I can possibly can with all the information and present it to you all as well. So one of the things I posted when I was prepping for the show and giving you you know, your thought process, the itinerary and the topics for the show, I was thinking of all of the most recent and all of the free agent activity. I thought back as far as the playoffs last year, even a little further, Frank, to when we were into maybe like the last month and a half of the regular season, when it really started to get the playoffs talk really started to heat up. So one of the things I wanted to see, and I asked a few people, was, is there what they like to say a power shift or a power conference in the NBA right now?
Maybe.
The East or the West?
Maybe.
So I feel like
the West still got it.
The West is still there. It's still above the East. It had the West had slacked off just a little bit. You know, but last season made a change, and people are probably saying, "Well, last season we got look. Last season made a change in it." And as far as the West, you had your regulars, the Warriors, you know, the Rockets,
Denver,
the Spurs, right? You know, because the Spurs, I put the Spurs in there because the Spurs are always in the mix. But they're just always in the mix. I don't care what happens during the regular season. If they get in the playoffs, they're always either get in or they're always extremely close. But last year, you had some teams that took some leaps. Denver Nuggets, Portland Trailblazers, Utah Jazz, Los Angeles Clippers. And I think that the power is back to the West, because now with the way the season played out last season, injuries, and I'm speaking of Golden State Warriors as far as with the injuries, as far as Kawhi Leonard going back to the Western Conference, and also facilitating, or the Clippers facilitating the trade that they made to somehow land Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. The West, I think, is going to be the stronger conference, and I say that because there are more teams in the West that you could say have a more serious fighting chance than some of the teams on the East. Like I said, in the West, and this was just a real quick glance through for me, the teams that I think will be in the mix mostly are the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Blazers, the Jazz, the Clippers. I throw the Spurs in there again because, like I said, they are always in the mix. Houston, the Lakers, and the Pelicans. Now, for all intent and purposes, you have to throw the Warriors in there. People are probably going to say the Warriors are this, the Warriors are that.
They still there.
Warriors are not done.
No, they're not.
They're not going to just lay down and die.
They ain't going to finals, but they're still there.
They have some pieces there. They may still even make the playoffs.
Still, I got them in the playoffs.
I'm saying they
Splash
may still
Brothers,
They may still even make the playoffs.
Draymond Green, yeah.
I mean, they pretty much have to hold the fort down until Clay can come back healthy.
They're going to be in there.
So, but you have to put them in there in any conversation about the West because they're defending Western Conference
Real
champions.
quick, could I say real quick? You probably disagree, but until he come back, guess who's going to be might get the MVP? My vote, and I'm not big on MVP awards. Steph Curry. But I'm saying because he's going to be balling out.
MVP is a far-going conclusion.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's going to be balling out until he come back.
He has to. There's no other way to do it.
The reason why I said that because he's going to make them be the 6th, 7th seed.
It's not going to make them that, but that's what they have to do.
He has to carry. He has
to. I mean, if they didn't do the move, they didn't make the moves that they made in free agency.
And KD left.
It would have been
right.
It would have been Steph and Draymond against the NBA.
Yeah, Draymond.
It would have been extremely
by the
tough.
way, Draymond's still in that team too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So,
they're
still in the mix.
Yes.
And
don't count them.
You know, so that's 1, 2. That's 8 teams.
You'd be a fool.
And teams that got better last year, some of them got even better going into this season.
Clippers.
Utah Jazz. The Clippers.
Clippers.
And remember, I said this to you.
Yes, you did.
I said this to you with the initial trade of Anthony Davis. I told you that the Pelicans would be in the mix.
Yeah.
The Pelicans made some moves. Like we said, we know this is all on paper.
We're going to wait to see. Wait and see.
The game still had to be played. Yeah. But I told you
3 years
not to be surprised if the Pelicans were in this mix. And right now, since all we have is on paper,
right,
I put them in the mix.
I'll apologize to you, D. So I'll say a year away.
They
got to be mixed.
I'll say it's less than
because
that. Listen.
Zion, you think that injury is that a fluke or whatever? What's the deal?
They are handling it the smart way. He played whatever minutes and he hasn't played since.
I love him. I love his character. And
he hasn't played since. They know what they're doing.
Right.
And they got
David
Griffin is there. I mean, hell, David Griffin built a champion in Cleveland.
Right. True. I got him a year away.
So, imagine what he can do there. And their talent level is better now with him there than it was when he started building in Cleveland.
True.
Okay, so it's an easier route for him to make that team successful.
Right.
Not saying that he definitely will.
Right. We'll see.
Knowing his track record and things that he can do, that is a better situation than the one that he built.
So they can be an 8 seed. You think they can be an 8 seed?
I think so.
Okay.
Now,
we'll see.
On the East,
3 teams.
There's probably going to be a race with 3 teams,
Sixers.
And that's probably going to end up being 2. Because
I got the Sixers coming out.
Because the way I see it, and like I said, my opinions, the way I look at it, I have to put the Raptors in there because they are the defending champions.
Yes.
I have to. You have to put them in there. They're defending champions. You got to put them in there.
I got y'all coming out.
And you don't know what they're going to be.
Milwaukee
and the Sixers.
Yeah. A dog fight.
Now, you could throw
Boston.
A little bit of wiggle room for Boston.
No.
And the Nets, yes.
Yes.
Now the Nets,
2 years.
In 2-3 years down the line, you might be throwing them in that top.
They might win.
I'm not gonna say chip. You'll be throwing them in that top 8. So what?
And Kyrie.
Okay, then what else do they have?
Yeah, that's
what else do they have?
Well, I guess they build some pieces around them. Maybe.
Right, so
we'll see. Okay.
We'll see.
We'll see.
The Celtics, they just always find a way. They just find a way to do some things. And most of that core that they have left has been together for a few years. So they can play together, if they will. But it's just not working out the way they expected it to work out when they started.
Right.
Now, the West is stacked. So
18.
I feel like that there's a power shift, and I feel like the West is the stronger conference.
Gee, real quick, you said power shift. It ain't going nowhere. Maybe 1 year.
Well, there was no really. Wasn't really no.
Yeah.
Well,
1 year,
think about it. More than a year, because you got to go back to.
Okay.
You got to go back to the 5 in a row. Years
they
were in the finals.
I'm sorry.
And at least 3 of them years, they just ran through the West. They ran through the league rather. So, recently now you can legitimately say that the West is probably now the power conference. And like I said, because all of these teams that have gotten better, and
both LA teams are gonna be good.
It's it's one of those things where you have to just wait and see. You know, it's like the games have to be played.
I can't wait.
Like I said, we can sit here and we can come up with so many combinations and this and that. And like I said, my opinions are my opinions only. And I gave it to you how I see it, how I saw it, the way I looked at it. And that's just where I'm at with it now. So the West, I think, is the problem. I think it's going to be some teams fighting for the playoffs in the West that are not going to get in, that arguably should.
How you think, real quick? How you think Houston going to do with the addition of Westbrook? They played before. They said they couldn't. It didn't work.
It's only one ball.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work.
And then you got them two together.
They gonna ball
and you know, somebody else mentioned something. Either Steven Jackson or my friend Raven Lyons said, you know, you went through what you went through the last few years with Houston, the moves you made and whatever, but you didn't do anything.
Right.
So he said, and everybody is going on the player, the personnel. Said, you know, maybe it's time that you start looking at coaching too.
Right.
You know, I can't remember who it was. It was either, I think it might have been both of them.
The isolation stuff
but
work.
you know, it has to be a point where you have to look that way.
Yeah.
And I think right now is the time. And you know, on the back end of that, like I said, it's only one ball.
Right. Hard.
Both of those guys are ball dominant.
It's not gonna work.
I mean, Russie does play D, but again, it's only one ball. Both of those guys are ball dominant. So how are you going to get them to coexist, especially in clutch moments of the game?
Exactly.
Late moments of the game.
Playoff game.
How are you going to get them to humble themselves in a way where they can still win games and be successful?
Hard.
It's going to be tough. You know, like I said, it's only one basketball,
right? And
there's not much else there. I mean, they're still trying to move Eric Gordon, so there's not much else there after Russie and James Harden.
They just signed.
So, you know, we'll see what happens with that. You know, and again, on the back end of that, the Chris Paul move, they got rid of that salary, which they needed to get rid of.
Yeah, the books. Yeah.
But it's a very good chance that he will not play a day in OKC.
Yeah,
that is a total rebuild.
Right.
And
it's over.
That's the only reason
they
can
got
take
picks,
that
though,
money.
They got picks.
It's the only reason they can take that money. So they got to rebuild, and they're gonna have to do it through the draft.
Yeah, they got a lot of picks.
Because now that no one's there, there are no stars that are gonna want to go to OKC. And it's already a small market anyway. So there's no stars that are gonna want to go there until they go. So they're gonna have to build through the draft and develop a whole new identity.
They lost all them players
with new players
Ibaka,
and new life. So that being said, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap some things up and talk to you a little bit about some stuff coming up for us, for the show, for me. And stay tuned, folks. It's your boy D.
It's your boy Frankie.
We'll see you on the other side.